So first of all, we say congratulations on your admission to UC Berkeley. Woohoo! That's a great achievement. We are so happy to have you here and we're ready to answer your questions. But first, we're going to give like a quick presentation and we'll let you know what the process will be like to asking questions later on in the chat. So just right now, just hold on. Don't, don't set questions yet because maybe we'll answer your questions before that. And something else to say, hearing a lot, you probably have already, is just go Bears. Our pride right here. All right, let's get started. So Charlene, go ahead.
Great. So here is the LSCS advising team. I'm Charlene Hughes, as I introduced myself, and helping us answer questions today on the LSCS side is Leslie Mack and Carol Marshall. And with us in spirit is Lydia Raya. We are normally in 349 Soda Hall, but for today we are on Zoom.
Yes. And right here at the bottom, we have the EECS and LNSCS advising teams. So we advise both majors. So that's Heather, myself, Andrea Mejia Valencia, and Myra Rivera. Heather and Myra are also on the chat. So we're all here, excited to answer your questions. Just a reminder, this session is being recorded. So if you are not comfortable with this, feel free to leave this session right now and you can watch the recorded version afterwards because that's going to be available for everyone. And now I think we're just going to go ahead and take off our camera so we can just focus on the presentation.
Sure. Andrea, before you do that, can you say where you're normally located?
Oh yes. So easy to remember is the advisors the only advice the CS team is they're in, like Charlene said, in 349 Soda. In the advisors that advise NCS, we are in 205 Corey. So these buildings, if you've heard of them, you'll have a better idea later on. Thank you, Charlene.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So, all right, let's get started. So we want to start with the top 5 common questions that we get a lot. So like I said, maybe your question is one of these top 5. So hold on asking questions and we'll have more guidelines on how we're doing the process in a little bit. All right, so the very first question that we get a lot is, on what website can I find useful information? So our website is eecs.berkeley.edu. This is a screenshot of what the website looks like right now. And where you go for students at the very, so something that I want to direct you to is to go to the for students section in the top left. So if you click that, you'll be directed to this page right here. And in the very center, it says EECS major and CS major, where it says undergraduate students. So that's where you want to click and you'll get all the information that you need for each major. But at the same time, at the very top left, you can see that search bar right there. You can just search for different keywords and you'll be directed easily to each thing that you're looking for. So looking for lower division requirements, you can just type that in and then the search results will show you that. Okay, and we have a lot of other information, things to point out. If you go to academics, you can read more about our courses. So if you're curious to read about what 61A is about, what some upper division are about, you can go there, as well as the research tab can show you some information about the different research areas that we have. Right. Go ahead, Shirley.
Okay, so great. So question 2, what classes should I take my first semester?
Oops, sorry about that.
And this is for LSCS intended students who are coming in as freshmen. I'll address transfer students in a little bit. So usually we recommend that students take no more than 13 units for their first semester. Just getting used to campus life and the rigor of the classes. So if you see on this slide what it looks like in terms of where you are for math classes. And then the recommendation would be for you to take a math class and a CS class or a data science class. So for students, for example, on this slide, on the first bullet, if you are still in need of Math 1A with no programming experience, we recommend that you take Math 1A and CS 10. And again, you can visit the website to get definitions of the classes. CS 10 is the beauty and joy of programming, and then Data Science 8, which is also cross-listed with CS, so you'll also see CS 8, but it's the same course. And then a breadth class. So you know in LSCS that for the college, you will need to complete 7 breadth classes. So reading and comp A is usually a recommendation. And so those 3 classes will be sufficient in terms of how many classes and units you can take. You may need to add an additional unit, which we usually recommend like a freshman seminar or something like that, just to give you 13 units. So for students, if you are in need of Math 1B, you have no programming experience, again, you would take Math 1B and one of the intro classes for CS. So that would be CS 10 or Data Science 8, CS 8. And then if students have passed out of calculus, but you still have no programming experience, we recommend then that you could take Data Science 8 and EECS 16A and your breadth class. So if you have passed out of calculus and you have programming experience, then we recommend that you can dive right into CS 61A and EECS 16A along with your reading and comp A with your breadth class. So I know students are curious in terms of how many hours they may spend outside of class doing 61A, for example. And from students' feedback, it's usually around 20 hours that students spend outside of discussion and lab in terms of how much time you would spend doing 61A. EECS 16A, so probably a little less in terms of the hours that you would spend for preparation, but definitely it will be rigorous. And so that's why we recommend no more than 13 units. That's this first semester to see how you do. Thanks, Andrea. Okay, and here let's address the transfer students that are coming in. So you'll see here, and again, this is all available on the eeks.berkeley.edu website. If students are coming in, and this is for transfer students, you're coming in and you don't have any experience or haven't taken any of the courses, the lower division classes for the major at community college, then we would recommend that you could start 61A in the first semester along with EECS 16B, because you may have completed the Math 54 requirement at community college. And taking 61A, again, you'll see down the list that it's optional if you wanted to. So for students coming in, transfer students coming in, you have the option of starting classes in the summer, 61A. And again, going down the list, if you've done 61B and need 61A and C70, which most students have completed this plan, then you would see that you would need 61A. Some students may need the bridge class. So 47B is a connector course. It's usually project-based for students who have taken the first part of 61B at community college, but it wasn't fully articulated. And then you would take that along with EECS 16B. And then moving down the list, you've done 61B, but need again 61A, 61A, 61C, and 70. And then we recommend a difficult combination. It's going to be a heavy semester, but you can take 61A, 61C, and EECS 16B. It's stating EE 16B there, but it's the same class as EECS 16B. And then yay, so you have 61B completed and 61C completed, but you still need 61A and CS 70. Then you can take those 2 classes together along with EECS 16B. 16B is a good preparatory class for CS 70. Also 61A is good foundational classes for CS 70. Thank you, Andrea.
All right, awesome. So now, there we go. So we're gonna go over the EECS students. So for first year students, so for freshmen coming in, we also have it selected as in depending on what portion of calculus you're in. So if you need Math 1A, it's gonna look very similar to the CS. So Math 1A, 61A, a natural science course, or you can choose to do maybe one of the physics requirements. And then we recommend doing a humanities social science course or the reading and composition, whether you need A or B. And then for if you've completed Math 1A equivalent, so usually that means that you've passed the AP exam. So you will be taking Math 1B, CS 61A, a natural science course, and also one more humanities social sciences or the reading and composition course. And then if you've passed out of the, so that's if you've taken the AP BC exam, you'll be taking, recommended to take CS 61A, EECS 16A, and as well as a natural science course and one more humanity, social sciences, and a reading and composition. So that way you'll have like a manageable first semester. And overall, we always recommend students their first semester to take the minimum units. So for LNS, that is 13 units. And for engineering, College of Engineering, that is 12 units. And that is just because you are getting used to a new life, right? You're going to college now, maybe in a new city and a new state, or maybe in a new country. So we want you to take in everything because you're gonna wanna get maybe involved in clubs or what's happening in your dorms and stuff like that. So that's a recommendation. And then for EECS transfer students, it will be recommended to start with CS 61A, EECS 16A, and an upper division humanities social science. And it's similar to what Charlene was saying and how we pointed out our website earlier. You can always go into the search bar and search for sample plans. And so when you search that, that's gonna pull out sample program plans for not only the first semester, but also future semesters as well for EECS first year transfer and as well as LNSCS first year and transfer students.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, the other thing I would add here is some students, even if they've completed Math 1B prior, they also would like to come onto campus and retake the class just in terms of the rigor. So that's something if you wanted to consider, you could take the class again if you've already completed it, but feel that you need a refresher in terms of Math 1B.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Thank you.
Oh, for sure.
All right, let's see. So now the third question is, how are CS and EECS lower division classes organized? So there are 3 components in your lower division classes. So that's going to be lecture, lab, and discussion. So lectures are usually twice a week for 1.5 hours. And some lectures are also offered Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 1 hour. And then in addition to your lecture, you'll have your labs, which are usually 3 hours a week. And in addition to this, you'll have discussions, which are usually 1 to 2 hours a week. And so we know that our lower division classes are fairly large, like CS 61A, but the labs and discussions are much smaller. So that's usually less than 50 students. So yeah, so these are the components for the classes.
Okay, so question 4, what can I do to do well in my CS EECS classes? So at Berkeley, we have a lot of resources in terms of academic resources for students in order to help you successfully complete your classes. So there's tutoring that's available free of charge for a number of from a number of sources. So here you'll see the HKN listed. That's our EECS Honor Society. They're on campus in 2 locations, and these are student members who help students who are taking the classes currently. So for example, in 461A, you will be able to find a schedule for the day that students are tutoring this class. Usually students are on campus and tutoring from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you have a window within your schedule, you can stop by and ask questions of the HKN students. There's also computer science mentors. And again, this is a student-run organization, and these are smaller grouped classes for one-on-one tutoring for most of the lower division classes, if not all of the lower division ones. And so you can sign up. These are, you can take for a unit, or you can just attend, register, and take those. Usually, computer science mentors, CSM, as we call it for short, starts sort of the 3rd week of class because students are coming back. And so they take a couple of weeks to get up and running in terms of preparation for the small group sessions. And then you have the Center for Access to Engineering Excellence, ESS, and so that is in Bechtel Hall. And again, they do drop in tutoring Mondays through Thursdays on campus. So again, review on the website, but these are just like the top three of classes that tutoring resources that you can find on campus to really help you get through the rigor of the lower division classes.
Awesome. And then to find this, you can just search for academic support or just tutoring on the website. And so the 5th question and last one that we have prepared, but we're ready for more questions, is how do I declare the LNSCS major? And this is to clarify, this is specific for students that are coming in through the College of Letters and Science, because students come to LNS undeclared, and then there's a process for declaring the major. Students in the College of Engineering EECS are declared, so this will be applying only to students in Letters and Science, okay? So the requirements are to take 3 courses, so CS 61A, CS 61B, and CS 70, and you must earn a 3.3 GPA in those 3 courses overall. And so the process for declaring is that students need to complete an online CS major application form that's on our website. And the deadlines, the easy way, the shortcut to remember is that they're always on the 30th of the last month of each semester. So for the spring semester is May 30th, for summer, August 30th, and for fall semester is December 30th. And so basically, as you can see in our sample plan that we provided for your first semester, we mostly only have like 61A or 16A, and that is because we don't recommend taking these classes together. We do recommend students spacing them out, 1 each semester. And so when you're taking the last of the 3, which usually happens to be CS 70, is when you will be submitting the online application. And you will be submitting the application before you know your grade for that course. And so we usually tell students, once you are, let's say if students are ready to take it, the last class, we tell them, okay, as soon as the semester begins, try to submit the application so that way they don't miss the deadline. And another question that we get a lot is if there's a limit of how many students we can admit into the major. There is no limit. So if all the applicants meet the 3.3 GPA, everybody gets accepted into the major. Another thing that we do recommend always, just because to keep a plan B or keeping a backup major in similar majors. So like data science, cognitive science, math, or statistics are a couple of majors that we recommend because a lot of the maybe lower divisions are similar, requirements are similar to ours. And sometimes we get a question about the GPA being raised to a 3.5. No, please don't believe that. Just trust the information on our website is a 3.3. So yeah, so these are the main guidelines for declaring the LNSCS major. All right, so Charlene and I got through our top 5 questions, and now we want to introduce a little bit about the CS Scholars Program. So Charlene, go ahead.
Oh, great. So thank you. So CS Scholars is a program for incoming freshmen mostly, and we also support sophomore students. At this time, we don't have the resources to support transfer students that are coming in, so junior transfers. So this program, speaking to it today, it's for incoming freshman students. It is a cohorted program for underserved students, so students who may not have had very much CS at their high school. It's an application process. Again, you can visit the website to see more and read more about the program. But we cohort students in the 3 lower division courses that are needed for the major, hoping that, yes, that students are able to declare. And the fall application, I should mention here, for fall 2020 will be open the first week of May. So you can visit the website, check out the program, see if you have any questions. There's a link to email me. I coordinate the program, so you can email me if you have specific questions but outside of what's listed on the program. But for those of you who feel that you may not have gotten enough CS experience at high school and feel that you would need additional support and you qualify in terms of the requirements for the program, definitely think to apply.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlene.
Welcome.
So now we're ready for your questions. So in the time left that we have of this advising session, we want to answer your questions that you have regarding the LNS-CS major and the EECS major. And I'm sure there's already questions in the chat, but yeah, we want you to ask your questions there. And then Carol and Leslie will be asking those questions to us, and Charlene and I will be answering them. We do ask you to please refrain from asking unique questions that might only apply to you, because we do want to answer questions that will, are kind of more general. But if you have those specific questions that you're unsure about, we do ask you to reach out to us. So we have here our information. We have this information on our website, and like I said, this will be available afterwards, the recorded version. So if you want to ask us questions about the LNS-CS major, so for letters and science, you want to email us at cs-advising@cs.berkeley.edu, and that email will reach all of us. So don't email us individually. Just know that that email will reach all of us, the six advisors for CS. And if you would like to schedule an appointment with us, we are working remotely, so we do have appointments available through Zoom or Google Hangouts. So that's the link, berkeleycs.youcanbook.me. And then for EECS advising, they're very similar. So it's just to email us at eeks-advising@eeks.berkeley.edu. And then for scheduling an appointment with us, it's just berkeleyeks.youcanbook.me. So I think we're ready. Charlene, you ready? I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay.
So go
I
ahead.
have a couple questions that couple students have asked is, when you talk about people being prepared for 61A, what if they're either self-taught or took like an AP computer science class? Do you think that that is enough to make them ready for diving in rather than taking CS10, for instance?
Yeah, so we get that question quite a bit. Really, it depends on how you feel in terms of your confidence for 61A. We recommend probably doing something CS10 or CS8 just in terms of getting some more foundational work prior to hopping into 61A because the course is needed for the major. So better to bear on the side of safety than to get into the class and then you're not prepared. We do have an add drop deadline in terms of when you can add or drop classes. Students can tell pretty quickly within like the first couple of weeks whether or not a class is too rigorous, and then you can plan to drop the class. But usually we would recommend that you take the class that's seems a little more foundational rather than hopping directly into 61A that first semester.
Yeah, and to add to that, you can also access the CS61A website if you want to take a peek. It's just
Oh, sorry, Andrea, you're cutting out. So it looks like Andrea is having a little bit of technical difficulty. So the website that she was going to mention is cs61a.org. So if you wanted to just Google that, and then we say if students can do a practice exam on that website, if you choose a practice exam and can do about 70% of the work correctly, then we would recommend that you're ready for 61A. Otherwise, again, think about CS10 or Data Science 8.
Great, Charlene, thank you for that. There are a few questions that I'm seeing through a chat that students are asking about AP units or credits. And can you talk about, what AP courses that the CS major will take to meet major requirements, and also talk about AP credits that can be applied towards breadth requirements and where students might be able to find answers to that question.
Oh, okay, sorry. Leslie, I know I don't mean to put you on the spot, but here I'm trying to open the website. So if it is that you have that ready, can you speak to that?
So for the AP credits, the CS major is only allowed, for AP credits, the only AP credits that the CS major takes are the AP AB and BC exams. And so those are the only AP credits that we will take for the major. However, the other AP scores that you receive that you might take in, like AP US History, those credits can actually be used towards your breadth requirements, and the LNS advisors will actually have more information about that. And so as you start your journey at UC Berkeley, you have two advisors that you essentially are looking to contact. And so your LNS advisors will help you with your college breadth requirements, and the major advisors, so us, will guide you through the major requirements.
Thank you, Leslie. Sorry, I didn't have that readily open. And so thank you. Technical difficulties here.
Sure.
Thank you.
And
Other questions?
I just wanted to add, oh, sorry. I just wanted to add that similarly, Leslie explained about LNS and major advisors. So for the students in the College of Engineering, you have your ESS advisors, which are your Engineering Student Services advisors, and you have your major advisors, so your EECS advisors. And so if you have questions about AP credit, you can always search in engineering.berkeley.edu. You can use the search box as well and look for AP credit and see what AP courses fulfill what, but you do want to check on those requirements with ESS.
Okay, so we've been getting several questions about fall. So I thought you might want to address that, what would happen if it's remote and all that. A lot of students are curious what's going on.
Yeah, I think we're curious as well. We don't know yet what's happening. We would love to give you an answer, but we have to wait for what campus has to say about that. I think that they're waiting to see how the situation gets, hopefully better, but I'm sure that they will be sending an email once that decision has been reached.
Yeah, so I would recommend, just mostly focusing in on the classes you think you're interested in taking, looking at breadth classes, looking at the CS61A.org website, for example, looking over the CS10 material, Data Science 8. So sort of focusing until we know further, just focusing in on classes that you think you would be interested in taking. And the campus will definitely be rolling out information as to what fall would look like once we know what the state is doing. So thank you for that question.
And I have another question about backup majors. And so the question is that are students able to complete courses for both years at the same time, or is there time for students to work on an alternative major if they can't declare CS?
Yes, so definitely we see a number of students in LSCS who declare double majors, triple majors sometimes, even higher. I think we have one student this semester who's declaring 5, but we wouldn't recommend that to you if it is that it fits into your schedule. But definitely to be able to complete 2 majors, it's rigorous. At some point, you will have to triple up in terms of your technical classes, but doable. We have a number of students who are also doing a simultaneous degree with Haas. So if that's something that you're interested in and to look into, but within the time frame of 4 years, you will be able, and we've seen it, be able to do a double major.
Okay, a couple of people have asked, they keep hearing about these 47A, 47B, and 47C classes, and are they eligible, and what are they?
Yes, so those courses are what we call bridge courses. So if students, for example, we see 47B a lot in transfer students. So for example, a community college that pops into my head that has an equivalent is Berkeley College, for example. They have I know City College of San Francisco, actually, because I looked at that yesterday. They have an equivalent course, but it's only partial equivalency. So what that means is that a student, to fully complete that requirement, they have to take CS 47B at Berkeley. And that might mean that they have to do only the project only portion, and it might be just 1 unit. And we do take that into consideration for the declaration of the CS major. And then 47A is the version for 61A. It is to say, though, that it is rare that that one gets approved, I know, and you do have to seek approval from the faculty that teaches that course. I think that those courses are also sometimes students that come from community colleges that have taken Math 54 and want to learn the circuits part from EECS 16A to take EECS 16B, that is 47D. So those are a little bit a quick explanation of what it is, but if I'm missing anything, Charlene, you can feel free to chime in, please.
No, thank you. That was totally fine. So yeah, it's just a connector class that helps mostly community college students complete the major on campus.
Okay, a student is asking if they can still take CS 61A their first year if they have programming experience outside of the class. And so basically, if students are coming in with programming experience and they might feel that 61A might be, kind of, they've already learned the concepts in 61A, can they take 61A?
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's similar to what Charlene mentioned before about testing out of Math 1A or Math 1B. Some students might choose to still take those courses to kind of get a refresher. And the same goes for 61A or any of those courses. I think that it's actually recommended to take them for sure. And like I said, it is you have to get approval to not take 61A, for example. And, sometimes students want to take our courses anyway because, they've heard maybe about Professor De Niro and want to take a class with him, and just the way he teaches is amazing. So it is highly recommended. So definitely recommended to take courses, even if you feel confident, maybe to get a refresher. That's a great idea.
Okay, I had a student ask, are they going to be assigned a faculty advisor, or how do they get, you know, advice from faculty that they want to talk to? Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that on. So we do have faculty advising, which is something I coordinate every semester. So this is specifically for students that are declared, so in EECS and CS. And so what that means is that we have, it just happened last week and the week before actually. So it's 2 weeks where students can meet with the faculty advisor to discuss anything regarding industry, research, course selection, and so it's a time that we allocate for students to meet with a faculty member, but we do not want students to think that that's the only way that you can get a hold of faculty. And you also don't get like a specific faculty assigned to you, so you're free to choose any. And so for students that are undeclared, we have been offering a session for CS intended students with one of our faculty, and it's been really great. So I feel like we have that like event allocated for that, but students are always welcome to contact faculty. If you go on our website and you search for faculty, you're able to see a list of our faculty members. You can see their emails, their office hours, what research they're doing, and you're welcome to contact them. And something that maybe we haven't mentioned yet is when you start your classes, you're going to have allocated time for office hours. Sometimes they can get pretty busy at the beginning of the semester, but then in the middle of the semester, we've heard from faculty that it gets very quiet and they feel lonely. So a big advice is to go to office hours. You know, faculty love talking to students, love giving advice, talking about their experiences. So you're always welcome to reach out to them.
Great, thanks, Andrea. There's a few questions about advising that I'll try to summarize. So a student's wondering if we're going to have advising appointments over summer to help with course selection, and if so, how do they make an appointment with us? And also, are students given a faculty advisor that they can ask questions to? And lastly, what other advising services does the advising office provide? For example, do they help with aspects of internships, career opportunities, or research?
Yeah, so Andrea, I'll take that one, or you can hop in, we can share. So the first part of that is CS advising. So definitely we are working here in the summer. We're taking a break, administrative closure, just to get through the CS applications that we will be receiving for spring. But for the most part, we will be here. If it is that we're still off campus for the summer, you can book appointments with us via You Can Book Me, which I think it's listed here on the.
Yeah, it's still, the screen is still up, everybody. There's the You Can Book Me link.
Great, thanks, Carol. So you can book an appointment there, or when you have accepted been accepted to Berkeley and SIR'd, you will have access to your CalCentral account. And so from CalCentral, you'll be able to make appointments with us from there. But in the meantime, if it is that you want to just chat about which classes you can take for the fall or your schedule, you can use You Can Book Me either for CS or EECS, depending. The other part of that question, I believe it was about, sorry, Leslie.
It's about faculty advising.
Oh, yeah. So I think Andrea addressed that very nicely. And so you can go back and hear that on the recording in terms of faculty advising. And Andrea, if you wanted to take the last question, which for me, Leslie would have to repeat.
Yes, well, something I wanted to note. So like Charlene mentioned, once you have access to CalCentral, you'll be able to make appointments for CS advising on CalCentral. But for the EECS major, we only use You Can Book Me. So make sure you always do that to make an appointment with us. And the same way, we're going to be available in the summer to answer your questions over email or to meet with you through Zoom or Google Hangouts. And like you, Charlene, I don't remember the end of that question. Leslie, could you repeat it, please?
Sure. I know.
Sure. Yeah, it's a long three-part question. But the last part of the question was, what other aspects can the CS advising office help with students?
Oh, yeah.
So, can we assist students with internship or career opportunities? Perhaps maybe research.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we definitely have, we're advising, but we also have other great components, other offices that help us out with our students. So we have the Career Center who help us with our external relations team put together every semester an EECS internship fair where students can meet with different companies to seek employment or seek advising internships, I meant to say. So yeah, we have the Career Center. In addition to that, we can talk about how to get involved with research. For the most part, students do, there's different programs. So we have a program called URAP. There's also Beehive, and this you can find on our website. If you just search for undergraduate research, you'll find the links to all of this and more information. But for the most part, we hear that students are able to get research positions by just reaching out to faculty or reaching out to grad students. So if you search for the research tab in our website, you can see the different research areas that we have and see what faculty is involved and what they're doing in their labs and so on. But yeah, we have a lot of components, a lot of resources for students on campus, which is really exciting.
I think you actually already addressed this, but the students are asking about how much time each class usually takes outside of their lecture. So when they're planning their schedules, like how many hours do they usually spend on 61A and 16A?
Yeah, so I think we addressed that early on, but sure, I'll just quickly say that from what we've heard from students for feedback, it's about 20 hours outside of lecture, lab, and discussion. So that's 61A. 16A, each 16A, 16B might be a little less, but again, the classes are going to be rigorous. So our recommendation, again, usually sticking at, for that first semester, to 13 units, as close to 13 as you can, just so you get used to the rigor of the classes and being away from home for mostly the first time for most of you.
Okay, a question from a student. They're wondering about double majoring as an EECS major. And so the student's wondering if they can, as an EECS major, can they double major with math or physics?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so something to notice is that there's different colleges, right? So we have the College of LNS and the College of Engineering, which we're mentioning a lot. So if you're a student in EECS, you're in the College of Engineering. And if you're thinking about math or statistics, data science, those majors are housed in the College of Letters and Science. So that wouldn't actually be a double major. It technically is, but it's called a simultaneous degree. And what that means is that you'll have to complete each major requirements, but you will also have to do the requirements for the colleges. So that would mean if you're EECS, you'll have to do the physics, you'll have to do the humanities, social sciences, and if you want to do, for example, math and LNS, you will, in addition to the math requirements, you'll have to do also the 7 breadth requirements. So that's a commitment that you do have to think about and you do have to plan out well. And if you want to do a double major, well, that's within the same college. So if you're EECS and you want a double major with mechanical engineering, that's a double major. And if you're LNSCS and you want a double major with statistics, that's a double major. So it's definitely doable though. It's just being aware that when you're adding a major, it's just you're adding more courses to your workload. So it will be important to meet with each advisor for each major and do a program plan for each semester to make sure that you're hitting important courses for each major every semester and to ensure you'll be graduating on time. When you're doing a simultaneous degree double major, you're able to stay an extra semester if needed. So something that kind of like accommodates for those extra classes that you have to take. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Andrea.
A couple of students are asking specifically about the data science major, that is that a good backup choice, or, you know, where do I get information about that particular major? I hadn't heard of it before.
Yeah, so data science, it's relatively new to us on campus. It's about 1.5 years old, and definitely for students who are not able to declare CS, data science is a very good backup major. The GPA is a little lower at the moment, so it's a 2.0 GPA. I don't want to get into too much details because we're not specifically data science advisors. They have their own division. So I think either Leslie or Carol will put the link for data science advising in the chat, and then you can follow up with them specifically regarding the curriculum.
We do know that they're very similar lower division requirements. So like I know 61A is one of them, as well as data 8. So that can be something to keep in mind if you're debating whether to go for data 8 or CS10, maybe go for data 8, totally up to you. But yeah, they do have similar lower division requirements, which is what makes it doable to work towards both majors in a way.
Thank you.
There's a lot of questions coming in the chat about humanities requirements, breadth requirements, which AP scores can fulfill the breadth requirements. Can either one of you discuss the difference between LNS advising, the LNS requirements versus the CS major requirements, and kind of which office can assist students in kind of their specific questions, since a lot of students are wondering about their breadth requirements and also their major requirements.
Yeah, so it is definitely confusing. It took me a while to understand it as well. I was a student at Berkeley and I was like, I don't understand this at all. So we also have, I believe in our website, an explanation of the differences, but we can go over it. So when it comes to LNS advising, so that's your college advisor, and for EECS students, that's your ESS advisor, Engineering Student Services advisor. So for them, you want to go for questions regarding university requirements. So that can be the AC requirement, it can be the language requirement, and you want to go to them for LNS, you want to go to them for your breadth requirements. So the 7 breadth requirements, they will be able to help you out with any questions about that. And then for your ESS advisor for EECS, they'll help you for your humanities, social sciences. And also that means that they'll be able to help with that reading and composition requirement as well. And when it comes to major advisors, you'll be talking to us. So if you have questions regarding declaring the CS major, talking about your program plan, whether you should take 61B and 61C together, or what upper divisions should you take when you're ready to go for those. So that will be for your major advisor. So yeah, specific questions for those. So it's just kind of the trick, how I remember, is university and college requirements, that will be my college advisor, major specific questions, my major advisor. I hope that helps.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of students have been asking about, is it a good idea to take courses in the summer sessions? And will this, I understand, and they know that now we went to pass on pass in the spring, but we'll be doing that in the summer too.
Andrea, do you want to take that one, since I think we did that? There's a good practice exam yesterday, or practice.
Yeah, for sure. So summer courses are known, it was already announced that they're going to be normal grading. So if you are taking a course for your major, you want to take it for a letter grade. So it will be, as we can say, it will be what its normal policy for grading. Courses will be online. As if you want to take summer courses, it's totally up to you. It is to remember though that those courses that you're taking are already going towards your transcript, right? So if you're a student in LNSCS and you're taking CS61A over the summer, that means that that course is going to be whatever grade you get, it's going to go into the calculation for the GPA for admission to the major. Another thing to keep in mind is that it could be a good idea to take a summer course, but at the same time, maybe this might be the last free summer that you have, because maybe next summer you want to take more classes, or maybe next summer you have an internship, or maybe you want to do research. So it might be a good idea to maybe just self-study, enjoy your time with friends and family, but ultimately it's up to you. But just remembering that those courses will be go into your transcript. Something really quick that I think is important to mention about summer courses is that our sessions are 8 weeks long as opposed to like 14 weeks, which is a semester. And so you have 14 weeks of a semester put together into 8 weeks for the summer semester, which means that the classes are spaced and it is a heavier workload. So we usually always recommend students to only take one CS course over the summer. So something to keep in mind. And also in the summer term, we don't have as many resources available like tutoring. So like HKN, CSM are run by students. So in the summer, students are doing other things. So we don't have those resources over the summer. So it's up to you. It's important to think about those pros and cons regarding taking summer courses.
Yeah, and just to add that, like we showed before, it may be a little different for transfer students if it is that they wanted to take 61A in the summer to help with the workload. So it looks like we have time for a couple more questions. We just want to stay on schedule. So what are some hard-hitting questions?
Yeah, I think students are also asking about, I guess, on continue on the same kind of theme as the previous question about summer courses. What happens when a student takes a summer course before officially starting at UC Berkeley? Say students are incoming freshman or incoming transfer student. How does that grade calculate into their declaration GPA? Is there any difference in doing that?
Yeah, there will be no difference. It's as if you're taking it in the fall, we can say, because you will be obtaining a grade which will factor into your GPA. So it will be counted as normal for the GPA declaration. So if a student is taking an LNSCS, they're taking 61A over the summer, and whatever grade they get, that will be already go into the 61A GPA calculation. And then they'll have to take 61B and 70 to see what their GPA is overall. But yeah, so that's something to keep in mind, that it does go into your transcript already, summer courses.
Okay. Some people are saying, you know, they're hearing rumors about how big our classes are, and they're wondering, you know, is it hard to get into their, you know, first year classes that the average freshman would take or transfer?
Yeah, so thank you for that. We do have reserved seats for incoming freshmen and transfer students in our lower division classes. So even though the classes will be large, say for 61A, for example, you will be able to get into that class once you start your registration process, because we do have reserved seats for incoming students.
Great. And so my next question is about the retake policy. You know, if students come in the first semester, they take 61A, they didn't do so well. What happens if they retake the course?
Yeah, so we have this also in our lower division requirement for LNSCS. And so we do have the retake policy. So what that means is that if a student, you know, we take the average of 61A, 61B, and 70, but if a student, for example, doesn't receive an F, let's say in 61A, and you're able to retake that course, and then whatever grade you get replaces the F in your transcript. But for declaration purposes, we will take that F as well to make the GPA calculation. So we'll be taking the F, then the new grade you get in 61A, and then what you get in 61B and CS 70. So that's something to keep in mind. And also for repeating courses, there is policies on campus. So if you just do a quick Google search, UC Berkeley repeat policy, you'll be able to see that courses that you're able to repeat. And if you want to correct me, one of you, I always forget, I think it's a D- and below, or D+ and below, that can be repeated, that is considered a fail. So if you get a C, for example, in CS 61A, and you want to repeat it, unfortunately you're not able, because a C is a passing. So we'll be taking your C for the GPA declaration. In addition to that, I do want to mention that there are cases that students don't meet the 3.3 GPA. We still want students to apply to the major and get the notification that they don't meet the GPA, because that will make you eligible to appeal that decision. And so we also have information of this on our website if you just search for CS Major Appeal. And what that means is that those students that are not able to meet the GPA are able to appeal that decision. And what this means is that students have to put together a packet. It's a Google form. And so the components of it are a personal statement, where we want students to explain to us their involvement in the department, anything that might have affected their performance in the lower division courses. We have different bullet points in our website. And in addition to the personal statement, we do require a strong letter of recommendation. And this can be from an internship, it can be from a faculty member that is overseeing your research. Those are the main components that we have. And then this is reviewed by a committee. And then students sometimes are accepted into the major by appeals process. It is hard to say. Sometimes we get the question of how many of the appeals do we accept? It is hard to say because they are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. You know, we do have the option of declaring. We do recommend having a backup major, and we do have the appeals process for the major.
So great. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. We look forward to seeing you in the fall, hopefully on campus. So go Bears, and thank you to everyone who participated, and of course to a CS team. Looking forward.
Yes, thank you everyone. And like we said, if you have questions, you can email us, you can make appointments with us. We hope this was helpful. I'm excited to see you, so go Bears. Bye,
Thank
and
you.
thank you.